Greetings, peace and blessings, shalom, shalom, to all the Hebrew camps, congregation, Knesset, priests, brothers and sisters, near and far and scattered abroad. I am priest Banyaahla of the House of Wisdom, joined by my reader Yaredun, and we're coming today once again with an insightful class titled, To Curse an Israelite. Children of Israel and those who are cognizant and conscious of their Hebrew culture understand that because we broke the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father and His judgments, the Heavenly Father rendered unto us a great and magnificent curse. And this is why we find ourselves in this predicament that we find ourselves today, being lost, castigated, cast aside, looked down upon, being the poorest and not the richest, being the dumbest and not the smartest, being at odds with each other with domestic violence and no marital domestic bliss, and all the other curses found in Deuteronomy 28 and throughout all the Bible, in fact. But today we're going to delve deeper into it. We're going to talk about the spiritual nature of cursing an Israelite. Let's start first in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. Pick it up at the very first verse. To understand cursing, one must understand sin, because cursing and sin are synonymous. So let's break down that very mysterious chapter, 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, very first verse.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua Christ, and by our gathering together unto him.
All right, Brother Paul is talking to that church of Thessalonica. He's saying, I beseech you, brethren, I'm coming to you by the coming of our Lord Yahushua, Jesus Christ, Yehoshua, to some, and by the gathering together unto him. So he's addressing that gathering that shall happen to be in preparation of the return of the Messiah, the Prince. Let's read.
That verse 2. That ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. That the day of Yahushua is at hand. Don't be disturbed by letter. Don't be disturbed by message. Don't be disturbed by any of these things that would damper and diminish thy hope. The day is nigh at hand. We live in some tumultuous times right now, brothers and sisters. We live in a time of absolute punishment, darkness, and dismal, absolute spiritual, abject, spiritual poverty. Poverty like never seen before on the spiritual plane, where we are absolutely disenfranchised and removed from everything that make us who we are. And we have taken on a new characteristic that really isn't a characteristic. It's everybody fend for themselves. Football players, musicians, and singers, and this and that and that. Nothing to do with who we are in the core. We was created to please the Most High. So Paul is saying, be not shaken. The day still is etched in stone. The Father will indeed send his Son to redeem us. Let's read. Verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come.
What day shall not come?
The day of Christ.
The day of Christ. That day, the Messiah returning, Yahushua HaMashiach, Yeshua to some, shall not come. Let's read.
Except there come a falling away first.
A falling away must happen. Pause right there and we're coming right back. Get Luke, the 10th chapter, and we got to pick it up at the 17th verse. So the day of the Messiah cannot come. People always say Christ can come anytime. That's not true. Christ, Yahushua, is coming according to prophecy, when the Heavenly Father fulfills all things. So he shall not return, the gathering together of Yahushua, and the saints shall not unify until what happened? A falling away happened first. What is the falling away? Luke 10:17.
And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto thy name.
All right. Even the devils are subject to the 70 apostles that the Messiah accrued beyond the 12 apostles. Even Satan and his evil minions were subject to the apostles and disciples, the priests of Christ in his name. Let's read.
Verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning falling from heaven.
That's the falling away. When you find that devils are subject to the priest in the name of Yahushua, a great falling away of the devil himself has occurred. He has become, in fact, powerless. Let's read.
Verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents.
I will give you power to tread on that old serpent called the devil and Satan from the beginning of time. This is the falling away. Drop that and go. Let's go back to 2 Thessalonians 2. So now we find that the day that the saints shall gather together unto the Messiah the Prince shall not happen unless there come a falling away first, also known as the falling away of these evil forces that have been cursing us. Read that third verse again.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed.
Check that out. That man of sin be revealed. So before the falling away happens, the saints shall be very curious about how they shall unify. First, that man of sin shall be exposed, and then he's going to fall away. So let's expose the man of sin. Hold that and get Genesis, the 4th chapter, and let's pick it up at the very first verse. We're going to talk about those brothers and sisters who are studious in the house of wisdom and have sat under and studied the law of sin. You know exactly where we're going and what exactly we're doing. We're now exposing that man of sin. This is not a man on the earth. This is not dealing with your prejudices. Some brothers might hate an African. That the man of sin is that African. You might hate this guy or that guy. That's your own vice. That's your own problem. Here is the true man of sin from the very beginning. Genesis 4 verse 1.
And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord.
All right. The Lord allowed Adam and Eve to bear a child. And what did he name the child? Or what did they name the child?
Cain.
Read on.
And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
Now we have Abel being a tiller of the ground, of the sheep, a herdsman, and Cain being a person who bring forth agriculture. Let's read on.
In the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
All right, Cain brought of his profession, the types of the ground. And as we covered this in length in previous classes, we're not going to go there. But Cain brought forth not his first fruit. He just brought any old rotten, yeasty, moldy fruit or whatever and brought that to the Lord. But what did Abel bring?
And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings.
He brought of the firstling, as commanded by the Heavenly Father. The first of your male sheep. Let's read.
Of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So
the countenance of Cain fell, and he was wroth because he trespassed. He broke the law, the sacrificial law of the Most High. And there are some ramifications behind that, and we're going to find out exactly what it is. Let's continue.
Verse 6. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
Father said, why are you looking like that? You know what it is that I commanded you. Read.
Verse 7. If thou doest well.
If you do what's right, keep law, keep statutes, keep commandments, keep judgments. Read.
Shalt thou not be accepted?
You think I won't accept you? Said the Heavenly Father. But a caveat is in there. Let's read.
And if thou doest not well,
if you trespass like you did when you brung the wrong sacrifice, read.
Sin lieth at the door.
Sin will lie at the door of your consciousness. Read.
And unto thee,
and unto you, Cain,
shall be his desire.
Shall be what?
His desire.
That man of sins, he shall desire you. So brothers and sisters, be not beguiled. Sin is not doing wrong. Sin is a consequence of doing wrong. Once you break law, statutes, and commandments, you are cursed. Sin now gets to dwell on you. And then what will happen?
And thou shalt rule over him.
And sin shall rule over you. This is the essence of being cursed. You break law, statutes, and commandments, and sin, in the court of the Most High, accuses you of breaking law, statutes, and commandments, desiring you. And he shall get the judgment if you don't atone, and begin to rule over you. Let's go back now to Thessalonians. Well, you know what? Let's pause. Let's continue on, actually. And let's see the sin. See, we saw the trespass. The trespass is that Cain brought wrong sacrifices to the Most High. That's breaking law, statutes, commandments. Now let's see the sin.
Verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him.
There go the sin. Every time you see a murderer, that brother or sister or whoever at one point before have trespassed. Sin entered into them and made them do the most odious, diabolical, putrefying, and wretched thing of murdering his brother. Pause right there. Actually drop that and get John the 8th chapter. St. John 8. And pick it up in, 44. St. John 8:44. So now we find out that the trespass was preceded by that evil spirit of sin entering into Cain, ruling over him and making him murder his brother. We have all been there. We have done wrong in the world. That evil spirit come upon us and make us now do the most egregious thing. Brothers have been in domestic situations and with their wives, laying hands on them, being brutal with them, and then later regretting it and saying, what did I do? Sisters, the same thing. In cat fights and battles, but later on, man, that was my sister. That was my mother. I cursed her out and spoke to her like she was a dog. It wasn't you. It was that evil spirit of sin that dwells on you. Let's read.
John chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do.
Check that out. You are of your father, your God, the devil, and the desire or lust of your father you will do, because he rules over you. Who is he?
He was a murderer from the beginning.
He is the one that jumped in Cain to murder sweet, precious Abel. Read.
And abode not in the truth.
He didn't abide in the truth. He didn't abide in the protecting covering of the truth of the Messiah. Let's read.
Because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it.
He is a liar and the father of it. He is the same one that lied to Eve and beguiled her. He is the father of it. Those evil, negative spirits that jump into us to keep us cursed and oppressed always. Read.
And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not.
Let's drop that. Let's go back now to Thessalonians 2. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. And pick it up in the 3rd verse again.
Let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So now we, of the house of wisdom, chosen by the Most High, Yahweh shall the Holy Spirit to reveal and expose that man of sin, that evil negative spirit that jumps into us and controls us and makes us slaves
he has been exposed. So after he has been exposed, then come the falling away. Because the falling away is us utilizing the sin offerings to begin to dethrone him, as we'll get to in a moment. Let's continue.
Verse 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he is as the Most High, sitting in the temple of the Most High.
All right, we're going to drop that and we're going to come right back. Hold that Thessalonian, because that's the spine of what we're breaking down today. That man of sin, and then we're going to get deeper into the curses. As I said before, sin is equated with cursing. They're the exact same thing. We're going to get in the book of Jubilee, and this is another venerated, glorious book ordained by the Most High. Gives us critical insight on our history and our culture and what was going on with specificity in those ancient times. We're going to get the book of Jubilee, the 10th chapter, and let's pick it up in the very first verse.
And in the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to err and destroy them.
Now we have the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, after the flood, began to procreate with their wives. And then they began to be recidivists and evil and do negativity. Why or how did evil begin to proliferate in the land after the Father just destroyed all the giants and destroyed all the sons and daughters of Cain? He annihilated them with a great deluge and a flood. But you'll know, if you read, that wickedness wasn't exterminated. It came back into the land. How did it come back in the land? Read the first verse again.
And in the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons...
The unclean demons, sin, which is a demon, began to do what?
Began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah.
Began to lead them astray. We have Nimrod standing up in his big campaign called the Chaldean Empire, Babel, and erected the Tower of Babel to in fact try to fight against the strong arm of the Most High. Who would do such a ludicrous, abominable thing? Only someone who is led away by sin. Let's continue.
And to make to err and destroy them.
Make them to error and to destroy them. That's the crazy thing. Sin don't care about you. It will jump in you and convince you that you're his bosom buddy. You gonna let him talk to you like that? The little voice in your head. Yo, we rolling strong, dog. We gonna do this, man. We're gonna roll on them clowns. And you actually are confidant to this evil spirit. But that spirit of sin jump into you like a stolen vehicle. He jumps into you, rides you around, bang you against a couple of trees, a couple of poles, and then jump out while you're doing 90 and you go off a cliff. And you know what he does? Wipe off the dust. Hey, what's up, man? Let me holler at you. And jump into him and move right along until he destroy him. We have to be wiser and stronger than these spirits of sin. This is why the priesthood is joined together, convening today to ensure that the spiritual battle is definitely in full effect. For the remission and the atonement of sin and these evil spirits of these demons that brings evil into the minds and the consciousness of our people. Let's continue.
Book of Jubilees, chapter 10, verse 2. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons, which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before the Lord his power and said, Most High have the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish, as thou didst the sons of perdition.
You have saved us, O Heavenly Father, and did not allow us to perish like the children of Cain, who was running amok, who was running rampant in those days, intermingling with the sons of men, creating giants and killing everybody. And what did he call them? The sons of perdition. Pause right there and go back to Thessalonians now. And pick up that third verse again.
Let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the sons of perdition.
That man of sin be revealed, who enter into the sons of men and make them the sons of the destruction. Once they have been exposed, now we know that we are literally at the threshold, the cusp of the day of Yahushua coming. And brothers and sisters, we are definitely standing at the doorstep. Let's go back now to the book of Jubilee. Pick it up in that third verse again.
And he prayed before the Lord his power and said, the Most High, the Spirit of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish, as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace has been great towards me, and great has been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them.
Let not wicked spirits rule over them. Genesis 4 again. These evil spirits shall rule over thee. By you breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, they have the authority. It is the law of sin. They can only rule over you if you break law, statutes, and commandments and don't atone for that trespass, or if you don't engage in the sin offerings. Let's continue.
Lest they should destroy them from the earth.
If sin rules over you, you will be utterly destroyed from the earth. You would be the children of perdition. Perdition meaning destruction, the destroyed ones. We're not of perdition. We're of life. Let's read.
But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servants, my power. For these are malignant and created in order to destroy.
Look at what they do. These spirits which are living imprison men and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. They hold you fast to make you a slave, or what Paul said, I am a slave sold under sin, because you can't do the things you want to do, and the things you don't want to do, you find yourself doing it. Ask somebody who's addicted to heroin. Stop just like that. Ask somebody who's addicted to crack cocaine. Stop like that. He can't do what he want to do. He know that crack is killing him, but it calls him. He can't stop. And given the opportunity, he will consume until he is dead. That's called sin. Not addiction, but an evil spirit that won't release him. Let's read.
Verse 6. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them.
Check that out. So these evil spirits are trying to rule over the spirit or the soul of the living. There's a spiritual battle happening. And you can't fight sin with a Desert Eagle. You can't fight sin with an AR-15 or a Dragunov or any kind of cannon or a tank or a nuke. You have to fight sin, an evil spirit, with a spiritual sin offering. Anything else is inadequate. You can chain yourself in your basement with handcuffs and all that. That spirit will jump on you and give you an ingenious way to slip out of them handcuffs and go do what it is he wants you to do. Can't stop it. Those days now are coming to an end, though. It is now for our spirit to fight against their evil spirit and become victorious and take ownership of this mortal coil now called our bodies. Let's read.
And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore.
And let's see. This is Noah now praying for his children and saying, Lord, I see them same evil forces that was here before the deluge, before the flood. Please, Father, let me get rid of them. And what did the Lord say?
And the Lord, our power, bade us to bind all, torment us before our time.
Check that out. And the Lord, our power, bade us to bind them all. What did the Lord do? He gave them a sin offering to torment them all before their time. To torment them. This is what the Father did for Noah at this time. Ushered in a way to slap around sin. This is the only way to combat it, brothers. So when you get sick of saying, I ain't doing that no more, and then 2 weeks later doing it again, and then saying, I ain't doing that no more, and then a week later doing it again, and then 10, 12, 15 years later, you're still on that cycle. When you get tired of that cycle, and you want to be free from those evil spirits of sin, step to the house of wisdom. Step to the priesthood. We are now, by the power of the Most High, Yahweh HaMashiach, and the Holy Spirit, is building now a formidable army that can combat and destroy those negative, wretched, rancid spirits that have been plaguing our people since the beginning of time. Let's read the next verse.
Verse 8. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord, Creator.
Check that out. And the chief of the spirits. Pause right there and get Ephesians, the 6th chapter. And start at the 12th verse. The chief of the demons. These demons are armies. They are legions and battalions. They got chieftains and generals and top dispatchers upon them. They tell them, go do this and don't do that. Ride him and ride her. Let that one be an adulteress, and him, let him be a pedophile. This is why it is so critical that we don't become judgmental. See that same evil spirit that is on that brother wearing a wig and have some makeup on, and he going around thinking he's a woman? That same spirit can jump off of him and jump on you. You sashaying around the street now with a Gucci purse on. But you was just a couple of weeks ago laughing at him. It's the evil spirits, brothers. They asked the Messiah, the Prince, how often shall I forgive my brothers? And what the Messiah replied was so poignant, so mysterious, enigmatic, baffles people to this day. He said 7 times 70. That's how often you forgive him. Some people are like, oh, let me do the math on that. It's not about the math, brothers and sisters. Then again, it is about the math. The math is to measure and to quantify time. This is the same 70s that Daniel spoke about. The 770s are the 70 weeks. He said 7 times 70. What is 7 times 70 weeks or Jubilee weeks? 3,500 years. The Messiah said, according to prophecy, for the rest of the time y'all here and the cursing of Adam is over, yo, relax on all of that condemnation, man. It's not your brother. If you learn to take that spirit of sin off of him, he will not be in high heels sashaying around with a Fendi bag. Or she will not be going around thinking she's a man. He would not be into pedophilia. He would not be a gangster, killing and murdering his people. Because you will learn to bind them spirits like Noah bound them evil spirits and began to free his people. Call what you got.
What was it?
Ephesians 6. Pick it up in the 10th verse.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. Finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might.
Look at what the Lord gave us, the power of his might. Be strong in it, because we got a job to do. And what is our job to do? Pick up in the 12th verse.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
That's not our job, to go punch a brother and a sister right in the face. We don't wrestle against carnality, read.
But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
We fight against chieftains like Mastema, those chief evil spirits that come down to bind men and put them in perdition. You battle him with spiritual warfare. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness, principalities in high places. Drop that and let's go back to the book of Jubilee. So now we're dealing with how to curse an Israelite. And now we have talked about the day of Christ Messiah, Yahushua shall not come until Satan and his minions fall away and that man of sin be revealed. So we are exposing him right now. And then we're going to talk about that great falling away. This is rejoicing. This is glorious to the saints of the Most High. It is an anchor of hope that change is on the horizon. All this tyranny and oppression and poverty and sickness and confusion and madness and all this abuse being based and pushed upon us by these evil forces are coming to an end. Hallelujah. All praises to the Most High. Pick it back up in Jubilee. Call the chapter and the verse.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 10, verse 8. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption, and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men.
Mastema stood up and was beckoning to the Most High. Heavenly Father, don't destroy them all. For you put a law out here that if they do wrong, I, sin, shall rule over them. And how shall I execute that if you get rid of all of us, Father? What did the Father say? No, I'm just going to destroy all of you evil spirits. What did he say?
Verse 9. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation.
The Heavenly Father said, let a 10th part remain, and let the 9th part all die. And the Heavenly Father knew that sin is like yeast, like bacteria. It proliferates. He accused you once, he come back, he got 10 more brethren. He accused you twice, he come back, he have 20 more brethren. Multiplying like yeast or like leaven, as the Messiah said. Let's continue.
Verse 10. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness.
All right, so the Most High, the Godhead, went to the angels to teach Noah about medicines, because these evil spirits make you sick. These evil spirits bring forth high blood pressure, hypertension, cancer, arthritis, all types of uterine fibroids, and all types of malignant sicknesses that are in us. And he said, let me give you natural medicines so that you can ward off some of these evils or the effect of some of these evil spirits. But nothing cures sin like a sin offering. Let's read.
Verse 11. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them we left, that they might be subject before Satan on the earth.
Check that out. Left a 10th part so that they may be subject to the devil, be his minions to be dispersed to do all types of evil. Noah was a very spiritual man. This wasn't a simpleton building some kind of boat and just was out there fishing. This was a man heavily acquainted with godliness and righteousness and spirituality. Let's continue.
Verse 12. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth.
All right. So it's very critical that we know about the apothecary and the herbs of the earth, that we deal with natural cures before we start running to these synthetic cures, but that's a whole nother class. Let's drop that book of Jubilee and let's get it in Revelation, the 12th chapter and the 9th verse. We're also in position to break down those brothers and sisters who already been with the House of Wisdom. Definitely get that class. Revelation, the 12th chapter and Revelation, the 13th chapter. Absolutely a mainstay in your archive. You need that because it is dealing with the redemption of the children of Israel. But let's take this one excerpt out. Revelation, the 12th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at the 9th verse.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old spirit called the devil and Satan.
Check this out. That great dragon, there was a falling away first. You know what? Slide up a little bit. Pick it up at about the 7th verse.
And there was war in heaven.
Now we're talking about the falling away. There's going to be war in heaven, in the spiritual realm. Read.
Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven.
All right. So Satan began to fall away from his lofty spiritual perch. And we're going to show you what he was doing in that spiritual realm. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against Satan and his angels. And Satan lost, and there was no more room. And spiritually, he began to fall away. This is why they were subject to the saints, or will be subject to the saints. Let's read.
And the dragon fought and his angels. Verse 8. And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Once again, the falling away that Paul was talking about. And when he fell from the spiritual realm, he was incapable of doing a thing now. What was that thing?
And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our power, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night.
The accuser of our brethren has fallen. The accuser. He is the one that steps before the court of the Most High and say, Abba, my power, my Father. This ridiculous notion that Satan is a rebellious angel fighting against the Most High is absolute clownery, stupidity, and ignorance. We'll talk about that as we go into Job's writing. But nonetheless, the accuser of the brother shall lose the spiritual prominence that he had, and he shall be able to accuse us no more. We're talking about the accusation of breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. Every day you do not Moses' laws, statutes, or commandments, wittingly or unwittingly, knowingly or unknowingly, you have Satan and his dominions or minions up there saying, look, Father, today, yes, sister, yeah, the beautiful sister, yes. Her name, Morning Dew. Yes, today she stepped out of the house unclean. Her cycle came. And it says that after the cycle, she must give an offering unto the Most High. Yes, Your Honor. She must come to the priest, give a brazen altar, give a sacrifice. She can do it, Lord. She can do it. Well, do she have a brazen altar? No, she don't have a brazen altar, but you didn't say they got to have it. You just said that this is what got to happen. So, Father, I accuse her today for breaking law, statutes, commandments, and judgment. What is the judgment, Father? You shall have her, Satan. Now we have our mediator, our lawyer, our high priest standing there as well, saying, Father, could you please be compassionate upon her? She has not yet learned about the trespass offering or the sin offerings. And the father asked, did she engage in it? Well, she can't. Father, she don't know about it. Well, like I said, in the law, Satan gets to have her. She trespassed like Cain, didn't give up the right sacrifice. Then sin jumps on her later on that night when she's scratching her sister in the face and busting her head open with a bottle of wine. Or when she's doing something negative, driving DUI and running into somebody. That's sin. That's evil. But it all comes because Satan accused you in the court of the Most High and got to rule over you. Let's continue with the cursing. Drop that. Let's go to the book of Enoch now. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, created a book ordained by the Most High. Controversial to some, but those of us who understand know that it is poignant, on point, and gives so much insight. Let's get the 40th chapter and start at the very first verse.
And after that I saw thousands of thousands and 10,000 times 10,000. I saw a multitude beyond number and reckoning, who stood before the Lord of spirits. And on the fourth side of the Lord of spirits I saw four presences, different from those that slept not. And I learnt their names. For the angel that went with me made known to me their names and showed me all the hidden things. And I heard the voices of those four presents as they uttered praises before the Lord of glory. The first voice, blessed the Lord of spirits, forever and ever. And the second voice I heard, blessing the elect one and the elect ones who hang upon the Lord of spirits. And the third voice I heard, pray and intercede for those who dwell on the earth and supplicate in the name of the Lord of spirits.
So now we see Enoch now learning the name of the archangels who actually battle on our behalf. And look at what they do. Some intercede and receive the prayers and oblations and supplications. Now let's look at what the fourth one did.
And I heard the fourth voice fending off the Satans and forbidding them to come before the Lord of spirits to accuse them who dwell on earth.
That is powerful. One of the archangels fends off the devils and forbidding them to accuse those who dwell on the earth. Saying you can't accuse that brother. That brother had not a chance. And if we learn to give the appeasement to assuage sin, trespass and sin offering, now our high priest, the Godhead, can come in the court of the Most High and say, Lord, this case is dismissed. Because you stated, if they come bearing their trespass offerings, Satan shall have no authority on them. And the Father looks, judge, and say, absolutely right. Case dismissed, Satan, you're dismissed. This is the court of the Most High that we have to learn the rules of it. We need to learn the time to come and plead our case to the Heavenly Father. Jump from there. We're going to go back to the Apocrypha now. Let's get 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. And let's pick it up at the 64th verse. 2nd Ezra, 16:64. So brothers and sisters, we're being detailed now. But you have to understand that there is wool that has been placed over our eyes to blind us, to hide the truth from us, to make you think that you are a Negro or an African American or a Gentile, and you will never delve into the secrets that the Heavenly Father have put forth for us to liberate ourselves. Come back to your heritage, your culture, your nationality, who it is that the Father created you to be. A Hebrew, an Israelite, a child of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, a child of Adam. Let's read.
Therefore, hath the Lord exactly searched out all your works, and he will put you all to shame. And when your sins are brought forth, ye shall be ashamed before men, and your own sins shall be your accusers in that day.
That's power right there. Your own sins, these evil spirits are the ones accusing you in the court of the Most High. Yeah, Father, that brother right there slept with that man's wife. You quoted, Father, in the commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. He committed adultery. So, Father, I get to have him, right? He make an inquisition to the high priest. Did the man atone? Did the man do what I told him to do? No, he did not, Father. Well, Satan, you get to have your way with him until the day that they learn. Read.
Verse 66. What will ye do, and how will ye hide your sins before the Most High and his angels?
How shall you hide them? You can't hide them. Judgment shall be placed upon everybody. Leave that and get St. John 5:45. St. John 5:45. So now, brothers and sisters, it is now high time for you to wake out of sleep. Wake out of ignorance. Wake out of ignoring the fact that these evil components have kept us down since the beginning of time. And our Father, by his grace, mercy, and charity bestowed upon us a new and better way, a way that we did not even deserve. A new covenant so that we may liberate ourselves from the confines of sin. John 5:45.
St. John 5:45. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, even Moses, in whom ye trust.
Check that out. The Messiah is saying, the saints are saying, it is not us that's going to take you to the altar and say, Father, look what he did. He said there's one that accused you, Moses. Drop that and get 1 Corinthians 5. 15, I should say. 1 Corinthians 15, start, I believe, 54. He said, think not that I, or the Messiah, is going to accuse you. There's one that accuseth you, and it's Satan himself. Pick it up at 55. 1 Corinthians 15, 55. There's one that accuse you, even the law of Moses. So now the brothers who live by the law of Moses and have not ascended into the seventh covenant, completion, the law of David, where we now are empowered to combat and battle these evil forces, you still got to contend with appeasing the Most High for the sin and the trespasses that have saturated your consciousness. Let's read. How is Moses going to condemn you?
O death, where is thy sting?
Death is separation from the Most High. Life is closeness to the Most High. That's coming to an end. Read.
O grave, where is thy victory?
The grave is hell, Sheol, this place we live in today. You don't have victory anymore. Read.
The sting of death is sin.
The sting, the punishment, the wages of being separated from the Most High are those evil components called sin. Read.
And the strength of sin.
The strength of those evil spirits of sin are what?
Is the law.
Is the law of Moses. What? Is that which is good unto us become evil? No. The strength of sin is when you break the law of Moses. He take you to the court of the Most High and accuse you. Like we're finding out, they accused the sons of Noah after the flood and began to increase in the land. The Father said, these are the consequences of the law, brothers and sisters. You do well, you shall be accepted. You don't do well, the Heavenly Father unleashes the Kraken upon you. And he has his way with you until you're utterly decimated. Leave that. Let's go now to Exodus, the 4th chapter. And no, let's go back to the book of let's go to Exodus. And we're going to talk about now, even sin tried to break down and destroy the great elder Moses. We're going to show how Moses himself was accused in the court of the Most High. And he had to do a thing to assuage the Heavenly Father and bring those evil forces, or to fight back, I should say. Exodus 4:19.
And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. And Moses took his wife and his sons, and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of the Most High in his hand. And the Lord said unto Moses, When thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thy hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord of Israel, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto thee, Let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn.
Now the Heavenly Father gave Moses a message. Go take this and tell that to Pharaoh. If he don't listen, we're going to get at it. And we're going to show you that also the deliverance from Egypt was a spiritual affair. But let's continue.
Verse 24. And it came to pass by the way in the inn that the Lord met him and sought to kill him.
What? Does this make sense? Go tell Pharaoh, Moses, this, that, and the other. And the Father sent him, and the Father sent forth a messenger to kill Moses? We got to really dive into what is really happening here. Well, let's continue.
Verse 25. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son.
So Moses neglected to circumcise his son on the 8th day. His wife came in, knew that this was the cause of the effect of sin coming in. Like Jonah in the ark. He went in there. There was a cause. The ocean was tumultuous around him. Tempest was everywhere. They knew somebody trespassed. and sin was at the door. So here, Zipporah took a sharp tool and circumcised her son. Let's read.
And cast at his feet, and said, Surely a bloody husband art thou to me. Verse 26. So he let him go. Then she said, A bloody husband thou art because of the circumcision.
It was the circumcision. Moses, get the book of Jubilees, get the 48th chapter. We're going to go through this clearly. Moses was accused for not keeping the statute of circumcision to the Most High. And right when he neglected to do it, sin accused him in the 9th hour in the court of the Most High, and God to rule over him was standing around the corner to actually cause a cataclysmic event in his world. Could have been a boulder landing on him, lightning coming from heaven, breaking his ankle, or whatever it is. No, it said it was going to kill him because he was cursed. He was accused. But what stopped it? Doing the law and also bringing forth a sacrifice. Book of Jubilees, 48th chapter.
And in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, thou didst depart and dwell in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. And thou didst return into Egypt in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year, in the 50th Jubilee. And thou thyself knowest what he spake unto thee on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastema desired to do with thee when thou was returning into Egypt.
Check this out. The same Mastema that was in the early day with Noah, he desired to have Moses. It is that same determined evil spirit that accused us in the days of Noah, accused Moses in his day, desired Moses. Let's read.
Did he not with all his power seek to slay thee and deliver the Egyptians out of thy hand, when he saw that thou wast sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Egyptians?
Check that out. These evil spirits was working for the heathens. These heathens, the Egyptians, at that time had magi, soothsayers, diviners, witches, and warlocks, doing the bidding for the king of Egypt, accusing everybody who was at odds with the king. And so these evil spirits came out and began to fight on behalf of those witches, those magi. Let's continue.
Verse 4. And I delivered thee out of his hand, and thou didst perform the signs and wonders which thou wast sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against his servants and his people. And the Lord executed a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake, and smote them through the plagues of blood and frogs, lice and dog flies, and malignant boils breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death and by hailstones. Thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts which devoured the residue which had been left by the hail, and by darkness, and by the death of the firstborn of men and animals. And on all their idols the Lord took vengeance and burned them with fire. And everything was sent through thy hand, and thou shouldst declare these things before they were done. And thou didst speak with the king of Egypt before all his servants and before his people. And everything took place according to thy words. 10 great and terrible judgments came on the land of Egypt, that thou mightest execute vengeance on it for Israel. And the Lord did everything for Israel's sake, and according to his covenant, which he had ordained with Abraham, that he would take vengeance on them as they had brought them by force into bondage.
Let's pay close attention to the 9th verse.
And the prince Mastema stood up against thee, and sought to cast thee into the hands of Pharaoh. And he helped the Egyptian sorcerers.
Check out what he did. He helped the Egyptian witches, diviners, prognosticators, and the sorcerers. They conjured up evil spirits, accused Moses, waited for the opportunity for him to break law, statutes, and commandments and say, we got him. And they accused him in the court of the Most High, and that evil negative spirit was dispatched now with all permission from the law of sin to kill him. Pick it up in the 10th verse.
And they stood up and wrought before thee the evils indeed we permitted them to work. But the remedies we did not allow to be wrought by their hands. And the Lord smote them with malignant ulcers, and they were not able to stand, for we destroyed them so that they could not perform a single sign.
The Father forbade the sorcerers by way, you're going to find out, of the sacrifices that Moses secretly did during that time. It stopped them so that they could not prognosticate, they could not enchant, they could not divine against the children of Israel. Brothers and sisters, it is eternal warfare. You are dead and dying on the battlefield, and they're standing victorious because you don't even know how to fight nor to play the game. It's time for us to step away from this everybody loves and let's have fun and party and drink and do stupid stuff. It's time now to reject this world, accept your cross, stand up in the middle with the heave and the wave and the trespass and the sin offering like Moses did, and began to destroy spiritual Egypt. Not carnal Egypt. He battled with spiritual Egypt. He had Mastema coming against him, studying him, watching him, looking at his habits, looking at his weaknesses, and then trying to capitalize on him. They do the same thing to you daily. Let's read.
Verse 12. And notwithstanding all these signs and wonders, the prince Mastema was not put to shame, because he took courage and cried to the Egyptians to pursue after thee with all the powers of the Egyptians, with their chariots and with their horses and with all the hosts of the people of Egypt. And I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. And the Lord brought them through the midst of the sea as if it were dry land. And all the peoples whom he brought to pursue after Israel, the Lord our power, cast them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the abyss, beneath the children of Israel, even as the people of Egypt had cast their children into the river. He took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed on account of one suckling of the children of thy people, which they had thrown into the river.
Because of Moses, the Heavenly Father took vengeance upon million. I mean, the great multitude of the whole nation of the Egyptian rulership. Took vengeance upon them. Let's read that 15th verse.
And on the 14th day.
On the 14th day of the first month, what happened?
And on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince...
Now we know that first month, 14th day at evening is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You come bearing a Passover sacrifice, a lamb of a male under a year, with no broken bones and nothing that is defective. And you offer that unto the Most High. So these children, the children of Israel, under the authority of King Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, began to offer up these sacrifices. And what happened?
The prince Mastema was bound.
He was bound. A falling away happened when they began to offer their sacrifices in righteousness unto the Most High. Now thinking like the adversary, as they say, the devil's advocate, if I thought like him, one of my most important things, one of the chief rule I would try to establish was, you know, these sacrifices done away with, right? You know they done away with, right? That's the first flood of misinformation that I'll send into the earth. Because when they engage in the true sacrifices, Mastema and all these evil principalities are what?
Was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Israel, that he might not accuse them.
They cannot accuse the children of Israel once they are engaged in the liturgical, spiritual sacrifices. First month 14 day, first month 15, 16, 17 day. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. The evil forces that accuse them. Once again, the strength of sin is accusing you of breaking the law. Moses did not circumcise his son 8th day that is prescribed in the scriptures. So what happened? He was accused, judged, and sentenced. And the only thing stopping him was his wife circumcising and him giving up a sacrifice to ward off those evil spirits of sin. Let's read the 16th verse.
And on the 19th, we let them loose, that they might help the Egyptians and pursue the children of Israel.
Check that out. Let them loose toward the end of the feast, that they may pursue the children of Israel. Let's read.
And the device was devised by the Lord our power, that he might smite the Egyptians and cast them into the sea. And on the 14th, we bound him, that he might not accuse the children of Israel on the day when they asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Egyptians in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve.
Check that out. The Heavenly Father allowed Moses to secretly sacrifice and bound those evil forces so that the Egyptians can hand over their wealth. Isn't that amazing? That's funny to me. It's hilarious, but it's absolutely on point. So to keep you impoverished and to keep people from giving you money, them evil spirits get on them people and say, no, I'm giving you nothing. But Moses gave up a sacrifice, bound them evil forces, and then they came over and said, hey, look, the Lord wants us to borrow, 10 pounds of gold. Them spirits was bound, and them people just said, here it is. Here it is. There wasn't no borrowing. These people labored in Egypt for quite some time. And so it was compensation to a small degree for some of the work that they have done. But what stopped them was those evil forces, so they had to be bound to be free. And this is the same way that the children of Israel shall be blessed and multiplied in the last days. Bound those evil spirits that bring forth poverty and release them spirits that will bring forth wealth to establish the covenant of the Most High. Not to go around and floss and stunt in this world, but to establish the covenant of the Most High, the kingdom of the Most High. Let's finish that up.
Verse 19. And we did not lead forth the children of Israel from Egypt empty-handed.
They did not leave empty-handed. We're going to go down to Numbers, the 22nd chapter. So we're going to find out that this is a reoccurring theme. But you got to understand the spirituality behind it. So you can read it with the eyes of carnality, and you will never get this. You'll never get this. Matter of fact, pause right there. We're going to come back to Numbers 22. Get Wisdom of Solomon. Get Revelations, the 11th chapter. And then Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. Let's get Revelations 11 and pick it up in the 8th verse. We're not going to break down prophecies just yet. I'm going to extract a small component out of here so that it may back the theme in which we are all talking about today, which is to curse an Israelite. Better yet, how the Israelites are cursed indeed. This is an x-ray of it, so that we can look at it, digest it, and then change the errors into that which is good. Revelations 11, pick it up at 8th verse.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
That is spiritually called Sodom, spiritually called Egypt. The saints of the Lord shall lie in the streets of that great city that is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Get Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. This is why that city is spiritually called Sodom. See, and spiritually called Egypt. Because you have to look at the spiritual components of Egypt and then contrast it to that latter kingdom. They're going to do the exact same thing that the Egyptians did, to spiritually hold down, keep back, and restrain the children of Israel through their sorcerers, through their magi, through their diviners, and through all of their witches and warlocks and so-called spiritual men. Wisdom of Solomon 18:1.
Nevertheless, thy saints had a very great light, whose voice they hearing, and not seeing their shape, because they also had not suffered the same thing, they counted them happy.
This is talking about the journey from Egypt into Sinai and preparing to enter into the promised land. And so now the children of Israel that came out of Egypt heard voices. Nevertheless, thy saints had a very great light, whose voices they hearing and not seeing their shapes. They were seeing the evil, or they were seeing the spirits, I should say, that was now plaguing the Egyptians. They didn't see their bodies, just heard their voices attacking the Egyptians. Let's read.
Verse 2. But for that they did not hurt them now, of whom they had been wrong before.
We were thankful that those evil spirits that was once against us is now off of us and against them. See, this is the goodness and severity of the Most High. This is the consequence of being in that covenant of good and evil. If the good is upon you, the evil is on someone else. If the evil is upon you, the good is on someone else. It's like that. That is the ebb and flow, the pendulum. It flows that way. So either you're going to be cursed or you're going to be blessed. And once the children of Israel get blessed, the severity or curses shall come upon the Gentiles who reject the truth. But those who bless the children of Abraham shall be blessed. And those who continue to accuse and curse with their witches and sorcerers shall indeed be cursed. Let's continue.
They thanked them and besought them pardon, for that they had been enemies.
We had been enemies with those evil forces before. So we was thankful that they was turned away from us and attacking our enemies. Read on.
Verse 3. Instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey and a harmless sun, to entertain them honorably.
So we had the Heavenly Father affording us great light in the night and a shade in the day, taking care of us because we began to sacrifice unto the Heavenly Father. How do we know? Let's read.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 4. For they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept thy sons shut up, by whom the uncorrupt light of the law was to be given unto the world.
Those Egyptians who found themselves in absolute thick darkness deserved it. Who kept the children of the Most High what? Shut up. They had us constrained, confounded, locked up into negativity where we could not embrace our power. Moses came to Pharaoh several times and said, hey, Pharaoh, the Lord has sent me so that you may release my people. Let my people go. And people always stop right there. Yeah, Moses was deep. He said, let my people go. But that's not his full statement. His statement was, let my people go so that we may go 3 days journey into the wilderness to sacrifice unto our Father. That is the reason that we came out of ancient Egypt. And that is the very same reason we will come out of spiritual Egypt. Let's continue.
Verse 5. And when they had determined to slay the babes of the saints, one child being cast forth and saved, to reprove them, thou tookest away the multitude of their children, and destroys them altogether in a mighty water.
So now that one child that was saved in a basket was Moses. And that same child that they sought to kill was instrumental in the killing of their firstborn. Let's read.
Of that night were our fathers certified afore.
Check that out. Of that night we became certified Israelites indeed. The Father put a stamp upon us and said, thou art my children, and he is our power. Let's read.
Of that night were our fathers certified afore, that assuredly, knowing unto what oaths they had given credence, they might afterwards be of good cheer. So of thy people was accepted both the salvation of the righteous and destruction of the enemy.
That's how it goes. It is the good and evil of the tree of good and evil, and the covenant of good and evil. Salvation for the people of the Most High, and destruction for the enemy. Or destruction for the children of the Most High, and blessings to the enemy. It's either or. You choose which one you want to be in. I choose life. And I encourage each and every one of you to choose blessings as well. Let's read.
Verse 7. So of thy people was accepted both the salvation of the righteous and destruction of the enemies. For wherewith thou didst punish our adversaries, by the same thou didst glorify us, whom thou hast called.
Self-explanatory. The way you punished them, rolling on our enemies, that was the same momentum and force that liberated us. That's the same force that we was riding and say, yes, Lord. Let's read.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 8. For wherewith thou didst punish our adversaries, by the same thou didst glorify us, whom thou hast called.
Now check out this next verse. Now all of this great momentous work began to happen for one reason. And what was that reason?
For the righteous children of good men did sacrifice secretly.
That righteous man Moses, Aaron, and his sister Miriam began to sacrifice, even though Pharaoh didn't even let them know or let them go to go into the wilderness to sacrifice. They said, oh, you ain't gonna let us go? We're gonna do it anyway. My whole nation might not do it, but we're gonna do it anyway. And when they did it, they brought forth catastrophic damnation upon those heathens. Moses and his righteous constituents began to sacrifice secretly, like the saints are doing today, sacrificing unto the Most High within the capacity of the new covenant. Don't let anybody beguile you, fool you, trick you to say the sacrifices are done away with. When the sacrifices are done away with, then Mastema can run and bulldoze you and your whole family over. The only thing that stops evil is a spiritual sin offering. Let's continue.
And with one consent made a holy law, that the saints should be alike partakers of the same good and evil. The fathers now singing out the songs of praise.
As I talk about quite often as we break down Genesis, the Heavenly Father told Adam that there are two covenants or two trees, the tree of life, everlasting eternal closeness to the Heavenly Father, spiritual, and the covenant of the tree of good and evil. Never eat of that, because the day you sacrifice and eat the meat offering thereof, you guarantee will experience a separation from the Most High, aka death. So don't mess with that. In the tree of life, you are forever one with the Most High, alive. And so now, when Moses, or when Adam, I should say, ate of that fruit, sacrificed to the tree of good and evil, the Father punished them for 7,000 years. Those of us who follow deeply the house of wisdom and the teachings here, you know exactly what we're talking about. 7,000 years was placed upon them. So every subsequent leader that came through had to continue on that covenant of good and evil. Let's not look at that covenant of good and evil like it's the creme de la creme. It's the top level. No, we devolved into that until the time we can ascend out of it. And that time is now, brothers and sisters. Let's continue.
Verse 10. But on the other side, there sounded an ill-according cry of the enemies, and a lamentable noise was carried abroad for the children that were bewailed.
While blessings was upon us, rejoicing and eating of food and celebration and feast, there was absolute wailing on the other side. Women mourning their death of their firstborn child. Darkness and plagues and rodents and boils and pestilence upon the people. But the Father protected us and blessed us. Let's continue.
Verse 11. The master and the servant were punished after one manner, and like as the king so suffered the common person. So they all together had innumerable dead with one kind of death. Neither were the living sufficient to bury them. For in one moment the noblest offspring of them was destroyed. For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantment.
Check that out. These Egyptians wouldn't believe anything Moses said because they became cocky. by their enchanters, their diviners, their witches, their warlocks, their sorcerers, who told the Pharaoh, you know, we got Miss Steamer working on our behalf. You know, when Moses mess up, we can get him. And they was cocky with it and said, oh, he's going to mess up. Oh, he will. And we're going to get him. And we're going to rule over him. People, pay close attention, because this same witchcraft is being predicated upon us, is being abused, placed upon us this day. We are being tossed to and fro by the same metric that they used back then. They're using it now upon us. So there is no answer but a spiritual answer for liberation. So let's examine how Moses was freed, or how the children of Israel was freed from this constriction that came by these evil forces. Let's continue, chapter and verse.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 13. For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantments, upon the destruction of the firstborn, they acknowledged this people to be the sons of the Most High.
Only by the power and interacting with the Most High and these secret sacrifices did they confess what?
They acknowledged this people to be the sons of the Most High.
These people today are not going to acknowledge that you are the children of the Most High until they began to see recourse by power. They can look at all the documentation, they can look at all the history and the archaeology and all the old writings of ancient men. They're going to say, so what? Until they begin to see the power of the Most High coming and destroying them and raising us up. So brothers and sisters, what are you waiting on? To convince the Gentiles you are a Hebrew because you unravel some archaeology in a coin with a black face on it? Hey, it's a black face right there. We Israelite. They're going to take that and toss it in the garbage and say, get back on the garbage truck, son. Get back on, pick that garbage up, boy. Right now, or you're going to get fired. So, let's not look for carnal means for liberation, but spiritual means. Let's continue. You ever done?
Verse 14. For while all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, thine almighty word leaped down from heaven out of thy royal throne.
Check that out. Thine almighty word. Not the Bible, people. The word. In the beginning was the word. And the word was with the Most High. Revelation 19 speak about Yahweh HaMashiach being called the word of the Most High. So now we have the Messiah, the Prince Jesus Christ, Yehoshua, jumping down from heaven like a mighty man of war. Read that again.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 50. Thine almighty word leaped down from heaven, out of thy royal throne, as a fierce man of war into the midst of a land of destruction. This
is who fought on our behalf, because Moses secretly sacrificed and appeased the Most High. And Yahushua jumped down from heaven as a fierce man of war and began to unleash upon them witches, diviners, and enchanters that was praying and prognosticating against us. Read on.
And brought thine unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death. And it touched the heaven, but it stood upon earth. Then suddenly visions of horrible dreams troubled them sore, and terrors came upon them unlooked for. And one thrown here, and another there, half dead, showed the cause of his death.
Check that out. So they had dreams prior to their death how they was going to die, so that they may know that it is not a coincidence. And people are having these dreams today, that the Most High is coming with vengeance in the hurricanes, vengeance in the earthquake, vengeance from heaven. They're having horrible dreams that this is in fact going to come upon them for the wickedness of their forefathers. Let's read.
Verse 19. For the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this, lest they should perish, and not know why they were afflicted.
The dreams foreshowed how they was going to be destroyed. So when it happened, they would know, I dreamed that. That was definitely the Lord spanking me on that one. Let's read on.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 20. Yea, the tasting of death touched the righteous also.
Check that out. That's deep. Not only did death touch the Egyptians, but it's like a two-edged sword came back and began to touch Dathan and Corey and all those who rebelled and chided against the Most High at the rivers of the waters of Meribah, who began to question Moses' authority. Those who said, Lord, we don't want to be with you. We want a golden calf, because that's what we learned to worship in Egypt, golden calves. It touched them as well. They began to break law, statutes, commandments, and judgment, and it came back upon us, our people, as well. And what happened?
And there was a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness, but the wrath endured not long. For then the blameless man made haste.
Check that out. The wrath endured not long, because the blameless man named Moses, why was he blameless? What does it mean to blame somebody? It means to accuse somebody. If you blame somebody, you are accusing them. He was blameless because he could not be accused, because Moses was secretly sacrificing. It doesn't mean he was perfect. We know he didn't circumcise his son. It means he did not let his imperfections, called trespass, mutate to that demon called sin. The Lord is not telling you to walk around here flawless. He's saying that the flaws that you do incur, atone for it. Give a trespass offering so that you never have to give a sin offering. Those days are coming. Those days are here. Those days are now upon us, brothers and sisters, where there will be men, women, and children who will never know sin, because all of their trespasses will be mitigated, atoned for that very same night, and they will never be accused by that evil spirit, and sin will never come upon them. Let's read.
Verse 21. For then the blameless man made haste and stood forth to defend them, and bringing the shield of his proper ministry.
Check this out. This is deep. He stood forth to defend them, and bringing forth his shield of his proper ministry. And what was the shield? The protection of his proper ministry.
Even prayer.
Even prayer and what?
And the propitiation.
And the sacrifice
of incense.
And the incense. This was the defense to ward off all these evil forces that was fighting against the Egyptians. Once we trespassed, it came against us. Moses stood in the middle of the blameless man that could not be accused with his proper ministry, that shield, which was propitiations, aka sacrificing, and the incense altar unto the Most High. If you don't see that force and that power by now, you will never see it. Brothers and sisters, it's time to stand up strong in the spiritual defense. Once you become conscientious and cognizant of the fact that you are a Hebrew, it's time to stand up strong with the power of the Hebrew Israelites, walking as a priest or one who gives their oblations to the priest for the defense of the nation, our people, our neighbors, our family, ourselves. Let's continue.
Set himself against the wrath, and so brought the calamity to an end, declaring that he was thy servant. So, verse 22, so he overcame the destroyer.
He overcame Mestema and those evil forces. Read.
Not with strength of body.
Not with a sword, not with a staff, not with an arrow or a chariot. Read.
Nor force of arms, but with a word.
But with a word, a verbal, audible, spiritual sacrifice did he subdue those evil forces. Read.
Subdued he him that punished, alleging the oaths and covenants made with their fathers.
Alleging the oath and the covenant made with our forefathers, proclaiming them to the Heavenly Father. As they accused us, we proclaimed in the court of the Most High. This is what you required, Father. They cannot now hurt us or enchant against us, because we have no trespass to turn to sin. Read.
For when the dead were now fallen down by heaps, one upon another, standing between, he stayed the wrath and departed the way of the living. For in the long garment was the whole world.
Check this out. Just like we always talk about, or the scriptures always talk about, these are the long garments of the priest. Blue garment with embroidery, tapestry, of bells and pomegranates. He stood up in the midst to stay the death or to stop it. Read.
and parted the way of the living. For in the long garment was the whole world, and in the 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the Father's graven, and thy majesty upon the diadem of his head. Unto these the destroyer gave place.
Unto these, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, and the priesthood at that time, the destroyer, Meskema, these evil spirits gave place. And what did they do?
And was afraid of them.
And was a what?
Afraid of them.
Afraid of Moses. These evil spirits quaked when they heard about Moses. Let's attack the Israelite. Is Moses there? Yes, he's there. No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. He burnt my cousin and my brother and Meskema the other week. I ain't even touching that. Let's go to somebody who think that the sacrifices are done away with. We can easily bulldoze through them. Read that again.
Unto these the destroyer gave place, and was afraid of them. For it was enough that they only tasted of the wrath.
It was only enough that they tasted a little bit of the wrath that came from Moses. Supplication, proper ministry, sacrifices, and propitiation. Drop that and get Numbers to 22nd chapter. So brothers and sisters, we're going over and over and over again. Spiritual oppression of our people. I don't care if it's the Egyptian captivity, the Assyrian, Babylonian captivity, the Greek or the Roman captivity. We were all oppressed spiritually, and they learned a way to always constantly dominate us, and they're using it this very day. So let's come to this second portion of the class and begin to digest Numbers, the 22nd chapter, in the first verse, how they began to get the ups on us and to dominate us. Let's read.
And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab, on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the sons of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was so afraid of the people, because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at the time. He sent messengers, therefore, unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me.
So now we have the king of Moab, coming and seeing the children of Israel coming out of that distressed situation, plaguing the Egyptian, coming out with great power and authority. He assumed that we and our forefathers was coming to actually take over his land. So he said, we got to fight against them. Let us go get a witch. Let us go get a sorcerer, an enchanter, and a diviner. So they sent messengers to go get Balaam. Let's read.
Verse 6. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the reward of divination.
They came to Balaam with the reward of divination, witchcraft, and enchantment. Curse these children of Israel, and we will give you such and such wealth untold. Finish it up.
And they came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak.
All right, let's now jump, for the sake of time, to the 23rd chapter and the 13th verse. For those of you who are studious, read definitely that 22nd chapter all the way to the 26th chapter, and you will see how they began to try to plague, or indeed succeed with plaguing the children of Israel. With all of this wealth of information that you have accumulated thus far, makes so much sense. Numbers 22, verse 13. 23:13.
And Balak said unto him, Come, I pray thee, with me unto another place, from whence thou mayest see them. Thou shalt see but the utmost parts of them, and shalt not see them all. And curse me them for thence. And he brought him into the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and ram on every altar. And he said unto Balak, Stand here by thy burnt offerings, while I meet the Lord yonder. And the Lord met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, Go again unto Balak, and say thus. And when he came to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him, What hath the Lord spoken? And he took up his parable, and said, Rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, thou son of Zippor. The Most High is not a man, that he should lie, neither the Son of Man, that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless.
Look at what the Heavenly Father told Balaam to deliver to Balak. The Heavenly Father gave Balak the authority to only bless and not curse. Read.
And he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it.
I cannot reverse it. The witches and warlocks and enchanters cannot reverse it for one reason. And what is that reason?
Verse 21. He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob.
Check that out. That is power right there. We can close it up and end right there. I think the class is over. The witch and the warlock could not enchant because what?
He hath not beheld iniquity in
There
Jacob.
is no trespassing turning into iniquity, aka sin, in Israel. Why was there no iniquity in Israel? Surely they was not perfect. They was turning gold into calves. They was chiding against the Most High. Why was there no iniquity in Israel at that time? Read.
Neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord, his power is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. A
shout of a king. Hold that. We're coming right back there. Get Deuteronomy 33, verse 4. Because there is a mighty king amongst them. And he has a mighty shout amongst them. He speaks the trespass offerings and the sin offering. Even though they do wrong, he is constantly there to assuage the wrath of the Heavenly Father. Who was that great king that was amongst them? Deuteronomy 33, verse 4.
And Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. And he was a king in Jeshurun.
Moses was a what?
A king in Jeshurun.
In Jeshurun, Israel, the upright ones. Read.
When the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together.
Now go back to Numbers. Read that 21st verse again. The Heavenly Father said unto Balaam, He has not beheld iniquity in the midst, nor perversion, because there is a mighty king. See, this is what a leader is. Read that 21st verse again.
He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord, his power is with him, and the shout of a king is among them.
This is what our kings and our royal leaders and those who are supposed to be guiding us, our shepherds, do. They watch out. They watch over the whole nation and the children of Israel, ensuring that there is no trespasses mutating and proliferating into sin. Moses was a wonderful leader. David as well, Hezekiah and Josiah as well, ensuring that the trespasses of Israel was never used against them by the warlocks and the witches of the nations around us. Brothers and sisters, we were being watched and studied. They know our tendencies and our propensities. They know you like to hang out on the Sabbath on so-called Friday nights. They know you like to get your club on, your drink on, your smoke on. They know you love breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. And they simply come to the Most High in the 9th hour and say, Lord, look at what Tyrone, Jerome, and Quan was doing last night. They accuse you. The Father sent forth the Holy Spirit. Her eyes is everywhere beholding good and evil. Is that true? She testified, yes it is. They go to your mediator, the Messiah. What you got to say, Yahushua? The lawyer for the people. Do you have anything? Do you have any trespass offering? I'm sorry, Father Abba. I don't have anything. Satan, you have your way with Jerome, Tyrone, and Quan. And next day on the news, Tyrone, Jerome, Quan murdered somebody. There's a manhunt out for them. The police shot Quan, and the rest of them are in jail for the rest of their life. Death penalty. That's how it goes down, brothers and sisters. Because the spirits, the enchanters, and the witches are sitting around day and night praying against you. See, you are deceived by shiny things. You like to talk about the Illuminati. Forget the Illuminati. There are those people who are beyond them. It ain't about the Rothschilds. It is not about the Bilderbergers. These people who sit around and enchant against you have no name. You know not who they are. They have learned an ancient art of suppressing you and keeping you down. So forget the name. Focus on the spirit. And let's congeal and come together and destroy these evil forces. Let's get back to it, Yaradan. Numbers 21, or the 21st verse.
He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord, his power is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. And the Most High brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob.
Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob if they have no trespasses. But as long as you are killing your brother, selling crack, so long as you're rapping about madness and objectifying our sisters and taking somebody's wife, long as you're burglarizing your brother's house, destroying your body, oh, of course there are going to be some enchantments against you. But once you learn the art of the new covenant, and the priesthood come together. The holy royal singers come together. The holy porters come together. The 144,000 began to take their position and began to fight on behalf of the entire nation and for the liberation of our people and, in fact, the liberation of the world. Then you began to see the falling away happening, that man of sin being revealed, and the gathering together unto Yahushua. Drop that and let's get Numbers 25. So when they learned this art, that as long as Israel have no no trespasses, they cannot work witchcraft against them. What did they decide to do? They got bold. Numbers 25, verse 1.
And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
Check that out. Moab sent forth the beautifulest of their daughters and said, go and seduce those little horn dogs amongst the Israelites. Go down there with your skimpy apparel on. Have your breastises out. Show your midriff and your silhouette. Then what?
And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods.
The pretty women said, yeah, Israel, we would like to be intimate with you. But it's a custom of ours that you must first sacrifice to our gods, and then we can do whatever we need to do. Got us. Got us. What did the brothers do?
And the people did eat.
The brothers couldn't help themselves. Had no discipline whatsoever. Nose wide open. Drooling at what they was looking at and was eating the sacrifice to the false gods. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it, baby. Let's do this. Then what happened?
And bowed down to their gods. Verse 3. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel.
They broke the commandments at that time. Thou shalt have no other gods before thee. And now iniquity was found in the midst of Israel. Now the Moabites could come forth and accuse us and send forth Mastema. You see how this goes, brothers and sisters? Into us and to destroy us. Let's read.
Verse 4. And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun.
Because they was worshiping the sun. Take everyone who bowed down to Baal Peor, hang them up and face them toward the sun. You're going to see your death. You're going to see the same thing you was doing for pleasure and happiness is the same thing that caused your death. Let's continue.
That the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
You see this clown? This clown wasn't around when they hung up and hung their heads up high facing the sun and killed everybody who worshiped that evil. He was away doing what he was doing with this Midianitish woman. And so now he comes trotting through the camp with this Midianitish whore, and then did what? Oh, he came trotting through the camp while all the righteous people was at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, sacrificing to the Most High to bring forth reconciliation for the wickedness that our brothers had done. They was weeping and crying that they had offended the Most High. Even though the ones who was giving sacrifices didn't do any evil. They was weeping and crying for the infidelities of our people. Let's continue.
And verse 7. And when Phinehas,
the same one that we have been talking about in the covenant established with David in Ecclesiastes 45, that the Heavenly Father honored him now, changing or altering the covenant where he could be the high priest as opposed to his brother Eleazar. But let's read.
When Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly.
So we have Phinehas here standing up, getting ready to receive the lineage of the high priesthood. Being a son of Eleazar, high priesthood was now given unto him. He saw that Midianitish dude. Where was he? Went into the tent. Went into the tent and said, yo, I'm about to get a little bit more of this. Got ready to commit adultery, fornication, harlotry. Again, Phinehas went in there with a javelin like a long shish kebab and stuck it through the man's gut, jammed it through the woman, and held him up high to show everybody that this evil was now eradicated. Read that again.
Numbers chapter 25, verse 7. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the men of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
Jump down to the 18th verse. No, 17th verse. 16, actually.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, vex the Midianites and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles.
Check this out. They vex you with their charms and witchcraft. Get that in Ephesians 6. I would be remiss if I didn't get back and show what they was doing in detail. The same way they were doing it back then in antiquity, brothers and sisters, they're doing it today. So they send forth whores and harlots into the community so that we can fornicate and idolate against the Heavenly Father. They get us into these strange customs and rituals that have nothing to do with us and our unity toward the Heavenly Father. They vex us with their wiles. Ephesians 6 and 10.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the adversary.
Now you see what Paul is talking about, that you may be able to stand against the witchcraft hurled at you by the adversary, that old serpent, the devil, and Satan. This is the wiles of the devil. This is what it is to be accused. Drop that and get Romans, the 7th chapter. Romans 7 and 7. And so, brothers and sisters, as we begin to continue on in this, pay close attention to how sin has ran through you, your family, and everything you love. Now it's a time, a great time, a bountiful time, that our high priest delivered unto us a new and living way to atone, to get rid of those evil spirits of sin. Now you will always, as long as you are in this mortal body, break law, statutes, and commandments. But it is your job to not let the sun go down on your trespass. Atone before you are accused, and sin get to ride you. Romans 7 and 7.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Most I forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, Thou shalt not covet. But sin, taking occasion by the commandment.
Check this out, people. Pay close attention. Sin, that evil spirit, taking occasion by me, Paul, breaking the commandment. Read.
Wrought in me all manner of concupiscence.
Concupiscence. All type of sexual desires. Immoral desire. But sin taking occasion by the commandment, I broke the commandment, he accused me, then he wrought worked in me all manners of salaciousness, wickedness. You know what I'm talking about. That evil spirit come upon you, you don't know where it came from. Just, man, I don't know why I like what I like. We know why you like what you like. It's not you. It's that evil spirit of sin. Let's read.
For without the law, sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once.
There was a time when that law of good and evil was not upon us. And we was alive. We was in the covenant of life. Because he couldn't accuse us. We was not under his covenant of good and evil. This is why he beguiled our mother Eve, because he wanted to grandstand and shine. He knew that if we entered into the covenant of good and evil, that he would get the ups on us. Read on.
But when the commandment came, sin revived and I died.
When we entered into the covenant of good and evil, sin used my breaking of the law, statutes, and commandments, and I was separated from the Most High. Deuteronomy 30 and 20 talks about that is what death is. Read on.
Verse 10. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death.
The commandment that was good and evil, I found myself being incapable because the temple was destroyed and I couldn't give my trespass and sin offerings. I found myself gradually descending into irreparable death. Read on.
Verse 12. Wherefore, verse 11. For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me.
Sin, evil spirit now, not doing wrong, taking occasion by the commandment. See, this is a being with thought. Took occasion of me breaking the commandment, tricked me, and then killed me. Read on.
Wherefore, the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Lord forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me, by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceedingly sinful.
Paul is saying essentially that sin will indeed use the commandments, the breaking of the commandment, to proliferate like yeast, according to the prophecies. Let's continue.
Verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin.
I am carnal, a slave to sin. The law is spiritual, but I am carnal, a slave to sin. What makes him a slave to sin? Read.
Verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not.
That which I do, I allow not. Don't like it. Read.
For what I would, that do I not.
That which I want to do, I can't do it. I want to do righteousness, but I can't do it. Read.
But what I hate.
That which I hate, I hate looking at another man's wife. But what happens?
That do I.
I find myself doing it. I'm always doing it. I'm kicking myself. So what's wrong with you, man? If somebody could see the inside of a righteous man's head, they're like, yo, this man is crazy. This man needs some riddle. This man needs some drugs to calm down the voices. But he don't need any drugs. He needs that soothing medication of an oblation. New peace offerings and sin offerings and trespass offerings. Let's continue.
Verse 16. If then I do that which I would not.
If I keep doing that evil that I don't want to do.
I consent unto the law that it is good.
I look to the law and see if it's good or if it's evil. Read.
Now, then it is no more I that do it.
When I find myself being a homosexual, a lesbian, a pedophile, a drug abuser, what did he say?
Now then, it is no more I that do it.
That ain't me. You ain't going to convince me that that's me. See, some of you are already convinced that. I was born that way. And that's just the way I am. And you can't be against me. But a righteous man will say, yeah, I do that. I can't kick it. I can't kick it. But it's not me, because I know that that's not right. It's not me. Who is it?
But sin that dwelleth in me.
It is mistima that dwelleth within me. It is those evil forces that get in me. Why? Because they want you to trespass even more. It's like a vicious cycle. When you engage in that act, what do? He turns around and accuses you again. And the Father gives him the authority. He gets you to do it again, and he accuses you again. And it's like a tornado, a hurricane that will never end. But the first step is recognizing and not falling for the great deception that you was born that way. I understand, brother. It's a hard thing to shake. One of the biggest, hardest thing to ever shake is sexual proclivities. It is easier to shake the addiction to heroin than to do that. And then when you live in a world where everybody's saying, be free and accept it, there's nothing wrong with you, that's even 3 times worse. But a righteous man will turn around and say, yes, that is pleasurable. Yes, it is. But I know it's wrong. And if I could take a pill to stop right now, I would stop it. Good news, brother, sister, family, there is a pill. It is that healing balm of the new covenant that will give you the power and authority to battle and fight. But first we must unify. The priesthood must come together. Due time, due season, offer it up not only for ourselves, but for our family and for our children and for our nation and our neighbors and the whole world actually, that wants to be free from the shackles and the imprisonment of sin. Let's continue. You ever done?
Romans chapter 7, verse 18. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not.
The will is there, but how to perform it, I don't know how to do it. I want to stop it. I want to stop using drugs. I want to stop smoking. I want to get off that alcohol. But how to do it, I just don't know how to do it. How do I do it? Sin offering, brother. Sin offering, sister. This is how you do it. You didn't get in it by one act. You're not going to get out of it by one act. It takes an absolute barrage of them to roast, eviscerate, annihilate, and cremate those evil forces that have been plaguing you and our people. Now's the time. Drop that. Let's get Job, the 1st chapter. So brothers and sisters, let no man trick you first to say that the sin offerings are done away with. Let no man trick you to say that sin is doing wrong. Every time you read here, it's not saying that it is no longer I, but doing wrong that's in me. No, it's mistima. It's those evil forces. When you read about Yahushua, Jesus Christ, healing somebody, he healed them and then the evil spirits left them. What is that talking about? Those evil spirits was keeping him or her sick. And so to heal them was to give us sin offerings and to get rid of those evil spirits. Let's look at what Job was doing. How did he carry himself? Did he believe that sacrifice is done away with? Job 1, verse 1.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared the Most High and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men in the east. And the son went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
So now we got Job, a righteous man, an Israelite. He's not a heathen, like some ill-advised Gentiles purport. This man's children went and feasted unto the Lord. They called their sisters over. They drank wine and had food. Let's continue.
Verse 5. And it was so, when the days of their feastings were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them.
Check this out. After their party, after their feast, like Moses, Job sent and said, sons, daughters, come here. Wash your hands and wash your feet. Let me anoint you. Let's get that unleavened bread and let's get that wine. Sanctified them, meaning dedicated them to the sanctuary of the Most High, and did what?
And rose up early.
Rose up early in the morning, because that's the time of the morning sacrifice. And did what?
And offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all.
He wasn't playing. He offered burnt offerings for every one of them. Why?
For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned.
It may be. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a possibility that you unwittingly did something wrong and that evil spirit of sin has come upon you. And when that evil spirit of sin come upon you, what did it do?
And cursed the Most High in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
Job did this continually. A righteous man, a pious man, raising up early, being a father to his sons and his daughters, like Moses was a father to the nation. That's what it is to be a husband, to atone, oblate, sacrifice, propitiate on behalf of the children of your family, your neighbors, your community, your tribe, your nation. Who will stand up for the big calling, that grand, most pleasant calling of atoning for the trespasses and the sin of the people of Israel? Who will stand up to be that royal priesthood? Who will stand up to be the holy royal singers, praising the Most High while the priests are exterminating those evil spirits, exorcising those evil spirits? Who will be the royal porters to bring in the untold masses that are seeking to give to the Father his due? Now is the time of the gathering, brothers and sisters, where the saints will indeed praise the Most High. Go back to 2 Thessalonians. We're going to pick it up where we left off and begin to bring this class to a close. But brothers and sisters, we can go on and on and on. You know what? Get the first verse and we'll break the whole thing down again. We can go on and on and on, showing you this clarity how the children of Israel is being cursed. As long as we are gloriously, honorably offering unto the Most High our trespass, sin offering, peace, thanksgiving offering, Sabbath oblation, all the holy oblations, and we mess up and we atone for it, these evil witches that are standing beside us, they are everywhere. They're all watching us. And every time they see us, they accuse us day and night. If we do what's right, they cannot do what they have been doing. They will be blocked. They will be shut down. 2 Thessalonians 2:1 again.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
So we make full circle now. The day, the gathering unto the Messiah Yahushua, the unification of the church and all Israelite camps, shall not happen until that falling away happened first. Until Satan falls from heaven. And the only time or the only reason he fell in Revelation 12 was because of the blood of the Lamb, the drink offering and the meat offering that they used to bring him down. The gathering cannot happen except there come a falling away and that man of sin be exposed like he's being exposed today. So brothers and sisters, come and join the priesthood, that holy royal nation that is being put together, and push forth the spreading of the gospel to expose these witches, enchanters, diviners, prognosticators, these sorcerers who daily prognosticate and accuse us to the Most High. Let's read.
Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High.
These evil spirits opposing all things that are called righteous. Let's read.
Or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High.
1 Corinthians 3:16 says, know ye not that you are the temple of the Most High, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you? You are the temple. This doesn't mean eat healthy. The heathens have taken this and said, oh, see, you need to eat vegan. You are the temple of the Most High. What do you do in the temple? You sacrifice. If it would have said you are the car of the Most High, I expect you to drive that thing. But you are the temple of the Most High, so in the temple you sacrifice. What does it mean? Let's go back to Thessalonians again. Read that 4th verse.
Who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High.
He as the Most High are like the Holy Spirit sitting in your body, which is the temple of the Most High, doing what?
Showing himself that he is the Most High.
Showing himself that he is the Most High by barking out commandments. Thou shalt commit adultery, but thou shalt smoke the crack. Thou shalt commit the adultery. He's acting like he is the Most High, giving you commandments that you must do. Read on.
Verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know that withholding, that he might be revealed in this time.
The Most High has been withholding this information so that that man of sin may be revealed in the last days. And he is being exposed this day. Let's read.
Verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work.
The mystery surrounding iniquity, aka sin, is already working. But brothers and sisters, I'm glad to present to you that it's not a mystery anymore. It is a solved mystery. It is clear as day that we have been cursed. And those witches, warlocks, diviners are all spread about the world prognosticating against us. They stand on the highest mountain. They stand in places that you know not of. And they pull together their resources to accuse us to the Most High. Because it is written. Deuteronomy 28, y'all done? And get the 15th verse. It is written clearly in our covenant that if we do a thing, there will be repercussions and consequences. Deuteronomy 28:15.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these cursings shall come upon
all
thee.
These curses, remember Balaam was hired by Balak to curse the children of Israel. And they can only curse them when we did iniquity. So these Gentiles can curse us. Let's read.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these cursings shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
What is some of the curses that shall come upon us and overtake us? 43.
The stranger that is within thee.
The Gentiles could be the Egyptians, could be the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Roman. It could be the European society that are amongst us shall do what?
Shall get up above thee very high.
They shall get above us and be presidents and senators and bank owners and technology moguls. Read.
And thou shalt come down very low.
And you're going to be scattered through the hood, scraping up coins, trying to get a 99-cent burger for your evening dinner. You're going to come down very low. Let's read.
He shall lend to thee.
He shall say, Here, black man, I'll give you a loan with 32% interest. Read.
And thou shalt not lend to him.
You ain't going to have a dime to lend to the Gentile. It could be any Gentile. It has nothing to do with their race. It has all to do with you being cursed. And see, the Gentiles have learned this. And they say, wow, we can perpetually stay rich if we perpetually keep them poor. See, it's about self-gratification. It is about supremacy on their end and the destruction of the children of Israel. Let's continue.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
He shall always be the leader. To this day, he is the leader. I don't care. You can be a mayor. You can be a senator. You can even be the president. You ain't ruling nothing. The witches, the magi, the warlocks, they are ruling everything. They are keeping this world in check. They're keeping the powers that be in check. And when we learn this thing, we will begin to take back the curse, give it to them, and bring the blessings home to us. And the curses go on and on and on. For edification's sake, drop down to the 68th verse.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The Lord shall bring you into Egypt, another name for slavery and servitude to the Israelites. He shall bring you into this new spiritual Egypt with what?
With ships.
With slave ships. The Israelites were walking into Egypt. Why do you need to take a ship into Egypt? Because it's not talking about ancient Egypt. Moses had just came out of Egypt. He was prophesying another Egypt. You should go there on slave ship. This happened to none other than those people of color who was recipients of the curses of the triangular slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. We left Israel. 70 AD was destroyed. Our temple was totally destroyed. We walked into Egypt. We walked into Africa, hiding amongst other dark nations. Vespasian and his son Titus sought us to destroy us, chased us into the interior of Africa amongst Timbuktu and other places. And the Hamites, the Africans, came against us, bound us up, and began to sell us as slaves to the Greeks, to the Romans, to the Europeans, bringing us over, fulfilling these prophecies that we shall be sold into another land off of slave ships. What else shall happen to us?
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
What Moses was speaking unto the children of Israel was before the promised land. He said, you ain't going to see this place no more. Read.
And there you shall be sold.
You're going to be sold off those ships for what?
For bondmen,
slave man,
and bondwomen,
and slave woman.
And no man shall buy you.
No man shall come with a ransom to buy you out of that situation. The Most High alone shall take you out of that situation. These are the curses that the witches and the warlocks and the magi's and the sorcerers know about. And so they use them to their advantage. Brothers and sisters, we are at fault for letting them take absolute, total advantage of us. Today, it stops. Join the revolution. Join the force. Join the power that's coming together. Let's finish up in 2 Thessalonians 2 and pick it up at the 7th verse again.
For the misery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way.
The Most High will let it happen until the Father deem it's appropriate to take the evil spirit of sin out of the way, ushering in the sin offerings. Read.
Then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Verse 9. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders.
They shall come who work that magic that comes after Satan. Get Ezekiel 21:21, Micah 3. As I said before, we're going to begin to close. But what I will show you here, brothers and sisters, no matter what campaign, what tyrannical despot or government we was under, whether it be Babel, starting with Nimrod, or the Egyptians, or the Assyrians, or the Babylonians, or the Persian and the Medes, or the Greeks, or the Romans, or any of the Eurocentric nations that have enslaved us, they all did it by divination. They didn't do it because they were stronger or smarter or wiser than us. They did it because we were ignorant to the devices of the Most High. The covenant that we were under, we continue to break it to this day, and they continue to use it to our disadvantage. Ezekiel 21 verse 21.
For the king of Babylon stood at the parting of the way.
Now, when we fell to Nebuchadnezzar, we're going to focus with pinpoint accuracy how we fell. Let's read.
At the head of the two ways to use divination.
The king of Babylon stood at his temple to prognosticate with sorcery and divination against us to destroy us. This is how he destroyed our temple. And wouldn't it be to their advantage if you destroy our temple so that we cannot give any more sin offerings or trespass offerings? Let's read.
He made his arrows bright. He consulted with images. He looked in the liver. At his right hand was the divination for Jerusalem, to appoint captains to open the...
In his right hand was what? The divination, the divining, the sacrifices to accuse the children of Israel. Let's read.
To open the mouth in the slaughter, to lift up the voice with shouting, to appoint battering rams against the gates, to cast a mount and to build a fort.
To build a fort against the children of Israel, he took the reward of divination, like Balaam taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before us. Let's read.
Verse 23. And it shall be unto them as a false divination in their sight. To them
it shall be as a false divination in the sight of Israel. We always think that we ain't doing nothing. Nebuchadnezzar can't curse us because we ain't doing nothing. Let's read.
To them that have sworn oaths, but he will call to remembrance the iniquity that they may be taken.
The Father will he will remember the evil that we have wrecked in the covenant of the Most High, and he will use it against us. Read that again.
Ezekiel chapter 21 verse 23. And it shall be unto them as a false divination in their sight. To them that have sworn oaths, but he will call to remembrance the iniquity that they may be taken.
That we may be taken. So Nebuchadnezzar came in with the reward of divination, began to prognosticate, use our iniquity against us to crush us and destroy us. He did it. The Persians did it. The Greeks did it. They all knew about this. Get Micah 3 verse 8. So you cannot hide, and it does no justice to us by saying we have done nothing wrong. We must confess our faults and the faults of our forefathers and come bearing our trespass offerings unto the Most High. Read it when you get it.
Read off the computer.
Micah 3 verse 8. And so now we will see that this has been used against us perpetually, brothers and sisters. It's time to break away from it now.
Micah chapter 3 verse 8. But truly, I am full of power by the Spirit of the Lord, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sin.
I am full of might, the Heavenly Father said. I will declare unto you your transgressions and even your sins. But be wise enough to know that they're being used. Anything you say and anything you do can and will be held against you in the court of the Most High by that evil spirit Satan. Let's read.
Hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob and princes of the house of Israel.
Hear this, you who stand in the place of Moses, who stand in the place of Phineas, who stand in the place of great leaders. It is your job to atone for the evil so that the negative curses can be taken away from the children. Let's read.
And pervert all equity. Verse 10.
Let's drop that and let's end it with Revelations 2:14. So as you see, brothers and sisters, we can show the exact same thing happened when we fell to the Greeks. Daniel was professing that that was going to happen. Same thing happened when we fell to the Romans. And the same thing happened when we fell in 70 AD. Same thing happened when we came over on slave ships, and the same thing is happening today. Because it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Because you can't see these witches going into a fit, cursing you day and night, you think it's party time. But be advised that they are against you. Look at what the prophecies state. Revelations 2, pick it up in the 14th verse.
But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel.
We just read that in Numbers 22. Why is it in Revelation prophecy? You have those among you who taught sorcery, witchcraft, where Balaam taught Balak to make the children of Israel trespass, and that will be a stumbling block unto them. Read it again.
But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols.
These things are being done against us this day. We're being played. We're being probed. We're being studied and prodded. And they look and analyze every trespass that we do, and they accuse the Most High, accuse us to the Most High in the court of the Most High. Now's the time, brothers and sisters. Romans 13:11. Now's the time. The priesthood is being formed. Mighty men are coming together who are sick and tired of being abused by those evil spirits. The priests will learn to oblate, propitiate, to sacrifice, to wield that peace and thanksgiving offering, those sin offerings, the holy, glorious Shabbat oblations, and every oblation ordained. And we shall stand like valiant men, praising the Most High on top of Mount Zion. Read.
And that knoweth the time.
All of you now are cognizant of the time in which we live in. You all are, those who comprehend what's just came out. And that knowing the time, read.
That now is high time.
It is high time. The world is coming to a swift end. As the saints begin to seal themselves in the new covenant and fight against sin, they can't hold back the tornadoes, the earthquakes. The evil spirits can't hold back the hurricanes. They can't hold back the sedition among men. Read.
For now is our salvation nearer than when we believe.
Our salvation is closer than when we ever believed. Brothers and sisters, I invite you, join together this fight and this battle against sin, wickedness, and iniquity. And let us take off the curses that have so distraught us as a nation since the beginning of time. Peace and blessings. Shalom.